The medical bay was quiet at this late hour. Only the night shift technician remained, a middle-aged woman named Susan, who was focused on inventory near the back storage area. Lily had worked with her before and knew she was sympathetic to those who questioned the war effort. Lily entered, first motioning for Cora to wait outside. "Stay hidden," she whispered, then approached Susan with a casual smile. Susan looked up from her tablet. "Hey, Commander. What brings you here at this hour?" "Trouble sleeping. Again, something like that," Lily replied, keeping her voice even though her heart raced. "I need one of the portable camouflage units." The civilian model. Susan's eyebrows rose. "For what purpose? Those are strictly controlled." Lily took a deep breath, deciding to trust her instinct. "I need your help, Susan, and I need you not to ask questions." Susan studied Lily's face for a long moment, then nodded slowly, reaching beneath her desk to produce a small silver device about the size of a palm. "I never saw you," she said, pushing the device across the counter. "And you never saw this? Thank you," Lily said, slipping the device into her pocket. Susan was now complicit in whatever happened next, but Lily had no choice. They needed the camouflage unit. If they had any hope of escaping, Lily returned to the corridor where Cora waited in the shadows. They moved quickly to a supply room where Lily helped attach the device to Cora's chest. It would not transform her completely, but would project a field that made features harder to distinguish, creating a blur effect that would confuse both electronic surveillance and casual human observation. "We need to reach Maintenance Hangar 3, Lily explained as she adjusted the settings on the device. "It houses the atmospheric shuttle, small enough to slip past the main defense grid, especially if we time it right." Cora flexed her forearms, now appearing slightly blurred to Lily's vision. "You have clearly thought about escape routes before." Lily gave a grim smile. "Everyone in a war zone thinks about escape routes, it's just most of us never use them." They continued through the station using service corridors and maintenance shafts where possible. The late hour meant fewer personnel, but also meant those they did encounter would be more suspicious of movement. Twice they had to hide as patrols passed, and once Lily had to nod casually to a junior officer, pretending she was simply doing a late-night inspection. As they approached the maintenance hangar, Lily felt the subtle vibration of her wrist communicator. Someone had discovered Cora's empty cell. The silent alarm had been triggered. Soon the entire station would be on lockdown. "We need to hurry," she said, increasing their pace. The door to maintenance Hangar 3 required command-level clearance. Lily swiped her access card and entered her personal code. The panel flashed green, and the door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside the large space, several small atmospheric shuttles sat in various states of repair. The one nearest the hangar doors was fully operational, a small, sleek vessel designed for rapid deployment to planetary surfaces. Lily led Cora toward it, but stopped short when she spotted movement near the shuttle. A figure emerged from behind it, tall and imposing in the standard gray uniform of a Terran Defense Force captain. Maya stepped into the light, her dark eyes widening at the sight of Lily, accompanied by a blurred figure that was clearly not human. "Going somewhere, Lily?" she asked, her voice calm but her hand resting on the laser pistol at her hip. Lily froze. Captain Maya Carter had been her mentor when she first joined the service. They had served together on 3 different assignments, and Lily had always respected her leadership. But she had no idea where Maya stood on the war or how she would react to what was happening. "I can explain," Lily began, though she had no idea what explanation could possibly suffice. Maya raised a hand, cutting her off. "Save it," she said. "I saw the security alert. I figured you'd head here." She glanced at Cora, then back to Lily. "You always were predictable. Are you going to stop us?" Lily asked, preparing herself for the possibility she might have to fight her former mentor. Maya sighed, looking suddenly tired. "I've been in this war too long. Lily, I've seen too many die on both sides." She gestured to the shuttle. "It's prepared for atmospheric entry and has enough fuel to reach the outer colonies. The autopilot is programmed for a mining outpost on Proxima B. They don't ask many questions there." Lily stared at her in disbelief. "You're helping us." "Why? Because I've suspected for years that this war could have been avoided." Maya said that there were forces on both sides pushing for conflict, when diplomacy might have worked. She looked at Cora. I don't know your story, but I know Lily. She makes decisions based on principles, not impulse. If she's risking everything to help you, then there's something more happening here. Something important. Maya reached into her pocket and pulled out a data chip, pressing it into Lily's hand. This contains security codes for the outer defense grid and communication frequencies used by those of us who question this war. There are more of us than you might think. Cells of resistance on both human and Zeraxian sides. It was almost too much to process. Lily had suspected there were others who questioned the official narrative of the war, but to discover that Maya was part of an organized resistance that spanned both species. We have to go, Lily said, gripping Maya's arm briefly in gratitude. Thank you, Maya nodded, stepping back to give them clear access to the shuttle. I never saw you, she said. Echoing Susan's words from earlier, Lily helped Cora board the small vessel, then climbed into the pilot seat herself. The shuttle systems hummed to life as she initiated the launch sequence. The hangar doors began to open, revealing the darkness of space beyond. Just as Lily was about to engage the thrusters, an alarm blared throughout the station. Red lights flashed, warning of the imminent lockdown. Blast doors began to descend slowly over the hangar opening. Now or never, Lily muttered, pushing the thrusters to maximum. The shuttle shot forward, scraping its upper hull on the descending doors but making it through the narrowing gap into open space. Behind them, the station grew smaller as the shuttle accelerated away from it. Lily engaged the stealth systems, hoping to avoid detection by the defense grid for as long as possible. She punched in the security codes Maya had provided, watching with relief as the shuttle systems confirmed their acceptance. We made it, Cora said, her voice filled with wonder. Not yet, Lily replied, keeping her eyes on the navigation console. They'll send pursuit craft. We need to reach the jump point where we can make the leap to hyperspace. The shuttle sped through the darkness of space. Lily plotted a complex course using asteroid fields and planetary shadows to mask their signature from pursuing scanners. She had trained for pursuit scenarios but had never imagined she would be the one fleeing. Cora watched her work with obvious admiration. You have become a skilled pilot. Lily managed a tight smile. The first summer after you disappeared, I threw myself into flight simulation. I wanted to follow you somehow. She shook her head at the memory. I never imagined it would lead to this. A warning light flashed on the console. Lily swore under her breath. They're scanning this sector. We need to power down and drift. She killed the engines, letting the shuttle's momentum carry them forward. The life support systems switched to minimal power, and the lights dimmed to emergency level. Only Lily and Cora sat in near darkness, watching the scanner as two Terran pursuit vessels passed nearby. When the scanner showed the pursuers moving to a different sector, Lily breathed a sigh of relief and powered the systems back up. They would need to maintain this pattern of movement and hiding until they reached the jump point. You never told me why you were on that forward base, Lily said as they continued their journey. I mean, the real reason a fleet commander seems too important for such an outpost. Cora was quiet. For a long moment, her silver eyes reflecting the soft glow of the instrument panel. I was sent to supervise the development of a new weapon, she finally said. One that would target human neural pathways. Specifically, it would end the war by incapacitating human forces without destroying infrastructure. Lily felt cold dread settle in her stomach. A neural weapon that would be genocide. I was trying to sabotage it, Cora continued. Many of us who had lived among humans who had formed connections could not accept such a strategy. I had nearly succeeded in corrupting the research data when your raid occurred, so capturing you actually saved your mission. Cora finished with a grim smile. I would have been discovered eventually. My actions were already drawing suspicion. Lily tried to process this new information. The raid that had been meant to gather intelligence had inadvertently stopped the development of a weapon that could have ended humanity. How many other such moments had occurred in this war? Pivotal events where neither side fully understood what was happening. The navigation system chimed, indicating they were approaching the jump point. Lily began the sequence that would activate the hyperdrive. The stars outside the viewport stretched, into lines as the shuttle prepared for the jump. "Before we make the jump," Cora said, her voice suddenly serious, "I must tell you something. When we reach the mining colony, there will be others like me, Zoraxians who oppose the war. We have been gathering information for years, evidence that certain factions on both sides collaborated to start this conflict." "What kind of evidence?" Lily asked as she completed the jump preparations. The silver halls of Detention Block C hummed with the quiet buzz of energy fields as Commander Lily Shaw made her way past rows of cells, most of them empty. Her boots clicked against the metal floor with each step echoing in the otherwise silent corridor. Her heart beat faster as she approached the last cell where their newest prisoner was being held. Lily had been fighting in this war for 7 years now, rising through the ranks of the Terran Defense Force with determination and skill that impressed even the most hardened veterans. She was known for her tactical mind and cool head and battle qualities that had saved many lives during the long conflict with the Zoraxian Empire. The mission to capture a high-ranking Zoraxian officer had been her idea, a daring raid on a forward base that most of her superiors thought was too risky. But Lily had planned, carefully studied the enemy patterns for weeks, and led her squad with precision. The capture had gone exactly as she had hoped, with minimal casualties on her side. Now she stood before the cell that held her prize, a female Zoraxian warrior whose intelligence could potentially turn the tide of the war. Lily nodded to the 2 guards stationed outside the cell. Both snapped to attention at her approach. "Commander Shaw, at ease," she said. "Take a break. I need to question the prisoner alone." "But protocol states," began one of the guards, a young man barely out of training, "that an officer of my rank can override protocol when necessary." Lily finished for him, her voice firm but not unkind. "This prisoner is different. I need to establish trust, and that will be easier without an audience." The guards exchanged glances but knew better than to argue with a decorated commander. They saluted and moved down the corridor until they disappeared around a corner. When she was certain they were gone, Lily turned to face the prisoner. The alien sat cross-legged on the simple metal bench that served as both seat and bed in the sparse cell. Her purple skin seemed to shimmer slightly under the harsh lights, and her forearms were bound with energy cuffs that glowed with a soft blue light. The prisoner kept her head down, silver eyes fixed on the floor. Lily pressed the control panel beside the cell, activating the sound barrier that would allow them to speak without being monitored. "Classified prisoner interview," she said, for the benefit of any security logs. Then she turned to study the alien more carefully. There was something about this Zoraxian that had been bothering Lily since the moment they had captured her on the battlefield. Something in the way she moved, the way she had fought with a strange hesitation when facing Lily directly. Most Zoraxians fought with cold efficiency, but this one had seemed almost reluctant. Lily pressed the translator button on her wrist device. "Ready to begin interrogation, state your name and rank." The alien finally looked up, and Lily felt a strange jolt of recognition, though she was certain she had never seen this particular Zoraxian before. The alien had the typical features of her kind, the ridged forehead that extended to a slight crest at the back of the head, the angular cheekbones, and those distinctive silver eyes that blinked sideways instead of up and down. "I am Fleet Commander Cora of the 7th Zoraxian Battle Group." The alien responded, her voice coming through the translator with a slight mechanical edge. Lily froze. The name hit her like a physical blow. Memories flooded back of summer days at space camp when she was 12 years old. Her best friend had been a girl named Cora, a transfer student with strange mannerisms and an unusual accent. They had been inseparable for those 3 months before. Cora suddenly disappeared without even saying goodbye. "It can't be," Lily whispered, the words escaping before she could stop them. The alien tilted her head, studying Lily with growing interest. "You seem troubled, human. Has my name significance to you?" Lily removed her helmet, revealing her face and short blonde hair for the first time. The alien showed no reaction at first, but then her silver eyes widened slightly. "Little Lily," she said in English, not using the translator. The words were heavily accented, but unmistakable, impossible. Lily breathed, taking an involuntary step back. How she struggled to form coherent thoughts. This had to be a trick. Zoraxians were known for their psychological warfare. They must have extracted this information somehow. Knew it was you the moment you captured me? Cora said, her voice softer now. Your fighting style has not changed much. You still favor your right side. Lily stared at the alien, trying to reconcile the purple-skinned, four-armed being before her with the memory of a dark-haired human girl who had been her closest friend for one perfect summer. But the way she spoke, the mannerisms, even through the alienness of her current form, there was something undeniably familiar. You were human. Lily finally managed to say. Cora shook her head slowly. I appeared human. Our biotech camouflage is quite advanced. I was sent to study your people, your customs, your weaknesses. She paused, her silver eyes, never leaving Lily's face. I was a child too by our standards. We were not meant to form attachments, but you were my friend. Lily said, her voice barely audible. I was recalled when my superiors discovered our friendship. Cora explained. They feared contamination. She flexed her 4 hands within the energy cuffs. From that day I was monitored, closely trained to become a warrior to fight against your kind. But I never forgot. You. Lily sank into the chair opposite the cell barrier. The war had always been presented as inevitable. The Zoraxians as ruthless conquerors, bent on taking Earth and its resources. Yet here was her childhood friend, now her enemy, saying words that challenged everything Lily had been taught to believe about the conflict. Why didn't you try to warn us? Lily asked. When you knew war was coming. Cora lowered all 4 of her hands, a gesture that seemed to convey shame. I tried. I sent messages encrypted in old communications we used to share at camp. But they were intercepted. I was punished severely. She lifted her upper right arm, showing a scar that ran from wrist to elbow. They implanted control devices after that. Many of my kind who had studied humans, who had formed connections, were similarly treated. Lily felt a wave of nausea rise in her throat. The implications were enormous. If there had been Zoraxians who opposed the war, who had formed connections with humans, then perhaps the entire conflict was built on lies. Did you know it would be me leading the raid? Lily asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Cora shook her head. I had no idea you had become a warrior. I hoped. She paused. I hoped you had chosen a different path. For several minutes they sat in silence, each processing the impossible reunion. Then Lily stood up, making a decision that would change everything. The security cameras in this section are on a loop, she said quietly, taking out her access card. I have 10 minutes before anyone notices. But why would you? Cora began, her silver eyes wide with confusion. Because if our friendship was real, once maybe there's hope. For peace, Lily said, sliding the card through the reader. The cell barrier disappeared with a soft hiss. There are others like me who question this war. We have a network. We can hide you. Cora stood, unfolding her full 7-foot height. You would risk everything. Some things are worth risking everything for, Lily replied, thinking of all the lives that had been lost on both sides of this conflict. If what you say is true, if there are others like you who were forced into this war, then people need to know. They moved silently through the detention block, keeping to the shadows. Lily led them through service corridors rarely used by the regular staff. Her mind raced as she considered their options. They would need to reach the maintenance hangar. Where smaller vessels were kept, Cora would need different clothes, something to hide her distinctive features. As they reached a junction in the corridor, Lily held up her hand, signaling for Cora to stop. Voices approached from around the corner. Guards, making their rounds earlier than scheduled. Lily pulled Cora into a narrow utility closet, barely big enough for both of them. They stood pressed together in the darkness. Lily could feel the aliens' rapid heartbeats, strange and off rhythm compared to a human's. The patrol passed by without noticing them. But Lily knew their time was running short. Soon someone would check the security feeds and notice the loop. The alarm would sound and every exit would be sealed. Lily whispered their new plan to Cora. They would make for the medical bay first, where they could find a portable camouflage unit not as advanced as the Zoraxian technology, but enough to blur Cora's features to casual observation. Then to the hangar. The whole time Lily tried not to think about what she was doing. The penalty for treason was death, As they slipped out of the closet and continued their desperate journey through the station, Lily wondered what her younger self would think of this moment. Would the 12-year-old girl who spent summer nights looking at the stars with her friend be proud or terrified to know what the future held? Would she understand that sometimes the greatest courage wasn't found on the battlefield, but in recognizing humanity, even in those labeled as enemy? The path ahead would be dangerous, filled with challenges that Lily could only begin to imagine. But in this moment between former friends now divided by war, a tiny flame of hope had been kindled. Perhaps this unexpected reunion would be the first step toward a different future, one where understanding replaced fear and old friendships could help heal the wounds of war. The mining colony on Proxima B appeared on their view screen as a collection of domed structures sprawled across the rocky landscape. The planet itself was harsh with thin atmosphere and extreme temperature variations, but the abundant mineral deposits had made it valuable enough for humans to establish a permanent presence. Lily guided the shuttle toward the smaller of two landing pads located on the outskirts of the main settlement. This pad was used primarily by independent prospectors and smugglers who preferred minimal oversight. Less scanning, less questions. They had emerged from hyperspace an hour earlier in a quiet sector of space far from regular patrol routes. The final approach to Proxima B had been tense as they monitored communication channels for any sign their arrival was expected or that alerts had been issued, but so far they seemed to have escaped detection. The shuttle touched down with a gentle bump. Lily powered down the engines and turned to Cora, who was adjusting the portable camouflage device to its maximum setting. "This will only get us so far," Lily said, eyeing the blurred outline of Cora's forearms, which still showed through the camouflage field. "We need better disguise options, and quickly." The mining colony was predominantly human, but had a reputation for looking the other way when it came to visitors of any species, as long as they had something to trade. The local economy ran on rare minerals and information, both valuable commodities, in wartime. They exited the shuttle and made their way toward the settlement. Cora hunched slightly to diminish her height and wore a hooded cloak that Lily had found in the shuttle's emergency supplies. It wasn't perfect, but in the dim light of the colony's perpetual dusk, it might be enough to avoid immediate detection. The main street of the settlement was a stark contrast to the sterile environment of the military station. A chaotic mix of prefabricated structures and improvised additions created a maze-like quality to the place. Merchants hawked their wares from stalls, while miners still dusty from their shifts gathered at various establishments that offered food, drink, and entertainment. Lily led them toward a particular building. At the end of the street, her contact here, a woman named Fiona, had been part of the resistance network for years, providing safe passage for those seeking to escape the war. Maya had mentioned her specifically in the data packet as someone they could trust. The establishment, called simply the Hub, appeared to be a typical frontier bar, but Lily knew it served as a gathering place for those with connections to the resistance. A place where information and resources were exchanged under the guise of ordinary commerce. They entered through the side door as instructed, finding themselves in a dimly lit room filled with the murmur of conversations and the clink of glasses. A mix of humans and a few non-human species occupied the tables, though Lily noted no other Zeraxians were present. At the bar stood a tall woman with short gray hair and the weathered face of someone who had spent decades in harsh environments. She looked up as they approached, her sharp eyes taking in Lily's uniform and Cora's blurred appearance without changing expression. "You look like people who could use a private room," she said, her voice low. Lily nodded. "Maya sends her regards." The woman Fiona gave a slight nod in return. "Follow me." She led them through a back door and down a narrow corridor to a small room furnished with only a table and 4 chairs. Once inside, Fiona pressed a button on the wall, activating what Lily recognized as a signal scrambler. "Now we can talk," she said, turning to face them. "You must be Commander Shaw." She looked at Cora. "And you are the reason for all this trouble." Cora replied, deactivating the camouflage device now that they were in a secure location. Her purple skin and forearms were fully visible in the rooms. Bright light. Fiona showed no surprise at the revelation of a Zeraxian in her establishment. "I was told to expect you both, though I admit I didn't expect you quite so soon." The network is still preparing for your arrival. What network exactly? Lily asked Fiona, gestured for them to sit. The resistance is larger than either of your governments would like you to believe, she explained. We have cells on Earth on the colonies, and yes, even on Zoraxian worlds. We share information resources, and when necessary, we move people to safety. She looked directly at Cora. People like you who have information that could end this war. So there's a plan, Lily said, feeling a surge of hope. Fiona nodded. There has been for some time. We have been gathering evidence of collaboration between certain human corporations and Zoraxian military leaders. Evidence that the war was engineered for profit and power. But we needed someone high-ranking from the Zoraxian side, someone with direct access to the neural weapon program to complete the picture. She nodded at Cora. You are that missing piece. Cora leaned forward, resting two of her hands on the table. I have data stored in secure locations. Information about the weapon development, the companies involved, the profit arrangements. Everything needed to prove the conspiracy, and you, Fiona, turned to Lily. Your raid was more significant than you knew. It provided the perfect opportunity for Cora to disappear with her information. The question now is whether you are fully committed to this cause. Lily thought about everything she had learned in the past 24 hours. Her entire military career had been built around fighting a war that might have been a lie. Her service, her sacrifices, all possibly manipulated by unseen forces seeking profit from bloodshed. I am committed, she said firmly. What do we need to do next? Fiona seemed satisfied with the answer. First, you both need to rest and recover. You will be safe here tonight. Tomorrow we begin the process of getting you to Earth, Lily repeated in surprise. That's the most heavily guarded planet in human space. How could we possibly? The most heavily guarded and the most important. Fiona interrupted. Only by presenting the evidence to the highest levels of Earth, government, and broadcasting it simultaneously to both human and Zoraxian populations, can we hope to end this war. She stood and moved to a cabinet on the far wall, returning with clean clothes, food, rations, and water. This room is secure, she said. You can rest here. I will return in the morning with more details about your journey. After Fiona left, Lily and Cora sat in silence for a moment, each processing the enormity of what lay ahead. I never imagined we'd be trying to save both our worlds, Lily said finally, looking across the table at her friend. Cora smiled, a surprisingly human expression on her alien face. Do you remember what you said that last night at camp? Under the stars, we said we'd be space explorers. Lily recalled the memory, washing over her with surprising clarity. We'd discover new worlds together and help our people understand each other. Cora nodded. And now here we are. Not exactly as we planned, but still together. Lily finished with a small smile. They ate the simple meal Fiona had provided, then tried to rest Lily on a narrow cot that folded down from the wall. Cora seated in a meditative position that she explained was how Zoraxians typically rested. Despite their exhaustion, both found sleep elusive. Too many thoughts racing through their minds. In the early hours of the morning, a soft knock at the door jolted them both to alertness. Fiona entered, looking grim. There's been a complication, she said. You were tracked here. Lily's hand went instinctively to her side where her weapon would normally be, but she had left it on the shuttle. How not the shuttle, Fiona explained, eyeing Cora. The neural implants Zoraxian Command uses to control their warriors. They can be activated remotely as tracking devices. Chorus. Hands went to the back of her neck where a small bump was visible beneath the purple skin. They told us these were for combat enhancement, she said, her voice tight with anger. Another lie, Fiona nodded grimly. A team of human soldiers and Zoraxian enforcers just landed outside the colony. Apparently, when it comes to stopping you two, they are willing to work together openly. How much time do we have? Lily asked, already calculating possible escape routes. Not much, Fiona replied. They are being slowed by the local security force, many of whom are sympathetic to our cause, but they will break through soon. She handed Lily a small device that looked like a medical scanner. This will temporarily disable the implant, but we need to remove it. Permanently if you are to continue to Earth. Lily took the device and moved behind Cora, pressing it against the bump on her neck. The device hummed softly and Cora winced as it sent electrical pulses through the implant. That should buy us a few hours, Fiona said. We have another shuttle hidden in a maintenance bay on the far side of the colony, a faster one better shielded. You need to reach it before the search teams find you. Lily helped Cora to her feet. The implant deactivation seemed to have weakened her temporarily. What about you, Lily asked Fiona. Won't you be in danger when they discover you helped us? Fiona gave a tight smile. I have been in danger for 20 years. Commander, this is not my first evacuation. She handed them a small data chip. This contains coordinates for a resistance base in the Saturn rings. Your new transport is already programmed to take you there. Someone there can remove the implant permanently and prepare you for the final journey to Earth. A distant explosion rattled the building, sending dust falling from the ceiling. That's our signal to move, Fiona said, leading them to a concealed door at the back of the room. This passage will take you through the settlement's water recycling system. It's not pleasant, but it's not monitored. Lily looked at the older woman with newfound respect. Thank you, she said, for everything. The rings of Saturn glittered like scattered diamonds against the blackness of space, a breathtaking display that momentarily distracted Lily from their desperate situation. The shuttle glided silently through the ice particles and rock fragments that made up the famous rings, following the coordinates to a location deep within the densest section. According to the navigation system, the resistance base was hidden inside a large ice moon, one of the smaller uncharted satellites that orbited within the rings themselves, nearly impossible to detect among the natural debris. It was a perfect hiding place. Cora sat in the co-pilot's seat, her condition worsening. The temporary deactivation of her implant was wearing off, and the tracking function would soon resume. Her purple skin had taken on a grayish tinge and her silver eyes were dulled with pain. We need to hurry. Lily said more to herself than to Cora. The navigation system chimed, indicating they were approaching their destination, though. Lily could see nothing but ice and rock ahead. Suddenly, a portion of what appeared to be a normal ice fragment shifted, revealing a hidden hangar bay. A transmission came through on a secure channel. Unidentified shuttle. Identify yourself. This is Commander Lily Shaw. Lily responded, Fiona sent us from Proxima B. We have an injured Zoraxian who needs immediate medical attention. There was a pause. Then we have been expecting you. Commander, you are cleared for landing, Bay 3. The shuttle slipped into the concealed hangar bay, the doors closing behind them, cutting off the view of Saturn's rings. As Lily powered down the engines, she could see several people rushing toward them. A medical team from the looks of their equipment. The moment the shuttle doors opened, they entered 2 humans and a being Lily didn't recognize, with blue skin and 6-fingered hands. They went straight to Cora, assessing her condition with practiced efficiency. The implant is attempting to reactivate, said one of the humans, a woman with short blonde hair and intense focus. It needs to come out now. They transferred Cora to a floating medical gurney and rushed her from the hangar. Lily followed close behind, trying to stay out of the way while remaining near her friend. They moved through carved ice corridors reinforced with metal supports into what was clearly a medical facility, surprisingly well equipped for such a remote location. A tall man with dark skin and commanding presence approached Lily as the medical team took Cora into a surgical area. Commander Shaw, Director Powell. Welcome to Rhea Station. He glanced at the medical team now preparing Cora for surgery. Your friend is in good hands. Dr. Nadine is the best implant specialist in the outer system. Thank you, Lily said, feeling suddenly exhausted now that the immediate danger had passed. The past 36 hours had been a whirlwind of revelations and narrow escapes. Powell seemed to notice her fatigue. Come, he said, leading her to a small room adjacent to the surgical area. You can watch from here while I bring you up to speed. The room had a large viewing window that looked into the operating theater where Dr. Nadine and her team were already working on Cora. The blue-skinned being appeared to be some kind of technical specialist working with delicate instruments to scan the area around the implant. Powell handed Lily a cup of something hot that smelled faintly of herbs. It's safe for humans, he assured her, seeing her hesitation. Just something. To help with the fatigue, Lily took a grateful sip. Feeling warmth spread through her body. So you're in charge here? Powell nodded. Rhea Station is one of several resistance bases throughout the solar system. We coordinate information gathering, smuggle refugees, and prepare for the day when we can expose the truth about this war. How long have you been doing this? Lily asked, watching through the window as Dr. Nadine carefully worked at the base of Cora's skull. Nearly 15 years, Powell replied, since. Shortly after the war began, he turned to look at her with serious eyes. I was a corporate executive before the war. Commander Shaw, I worked for Terran Defense Industries, one of the largest weapons manufacturers in human space. I was in the room when they decided to provoke this conflict. Lily stared at him in shock. You mean? I watched as human executives met with Zoraxian military leaders to plan how to create tensions between our species. Powell said, his voice tight with old anger. They needed a war. Both sides had power structures that were being threatened by peace movements. Growing cooperation between humans and Zoraxians was making it harder to maintain military budgets, harder to control populations through fear. I couldn't be part of it. I took what evidence I could and left. Through the window, Lily could see Dr. Nadine removing something from Cora's neck, a small metallic device with thin tendrils that had wrapped around nerve tissues. The doctor placed it in a sealed container. While the blue-skinned assistant began the process of healing the wound. She will recover, Dr. Nadine said over the intercom, but she needs rest. The implant had begun to send pain signals through her nervous system as punishment for resistance. Thank you, Dr. Lily said, feeling a surge of relief. Powell touched her shoulder gently. Come, Commander. Your friend is in good hands. You need rest too. We have much to discuss in the morning. He led her to small but comfortable quarters where Lily, despite her racing thoughts, fell into exhausted sleep almost immediately. The next morning, after checking on Cora, who was still sedated but recovering well, Lily joined Powell and several other resistance leaders in a conference room carved from the ice moon itself. The walls were lined with technology that kept the temperature comfortable and projected information on various surfaces. 8 people sat around the table, representing what Powell called the core leadership of the Earth branch of resistance. 4 humans, including Powell, 2 Zoraxians who nodded respectfully to Lily, and 2 beings from species Lily didn't recognize. We've been waiting for someone like Cora for a long time. Powell began once introductions were complete. Her position gave her access to the neural weapon program, the smoking gun we needed to prove collaboration between our governments. One of the Zoraxians spoke up. Her name was Tala, and she had been introduced as a former scientist from the Zoraxian homeworld. The neural weapon was designed by a joint research team. She explained human corporations provided the funding and technology, while our military leadership provided test subjects, prisoners mostly whose disappearances could be blamed on the war. Lily felt sick at the thought. But she kept her focus. What exactly is your plan? How do we expose this? Powell activated a holographic display showing Earth and its orbital defense systems. Our plan is to get you and Cora to Earth with the evidence. The full data package includes financial transactions, weapons development plans, and communication logs between human corporations and Zoraxian military leaders. The second Zoraxian, Marn, added, We have a ship capable of breaking through Earth's defenses. Using technology that combines both human and Zoraxian cloaking methods, it will get you past the orbital platforms. And once we're on Earth, Lily asked. A human woman named Rita, who had been introduced as a former Earth government official, leaned forward. Once on Earth, you will be met by our contacts in the global media network. They have agreed to broadcast the evidence simultaneously on all channels, bypassing government controls. The transmission will also be sent to the Zoraxian homeworld through our agents there. It's a one-shot opportunity, Powell said gravely. If you are captured, if the evidence is destroyed, there won't be another chance. We have spent years gathering this information, and the corporations are getting suspicious. They've increased, security purged potential leaks. Many of our agents have disappeared in recent months. Lily looked around the table at these people who had dedicated their lives to exposing the truth. They came from different worlds, different species, yet worked together for a common cause. It was exactly what she and Cora had dreamed of as children. A universe where cooperation replaced conflict. "When do we leave?" Lily asked. 3 days, Powell replied. "Cora needs time to recover, and you both need training on the stealth ship. Its controls are a hybrid of human and Zoraxian technology." The next 3 days passed in a blur of activity. Lily divided her time between training on the unusual ship that would take them to Earth, visiting Cora, who was recovering quickly, and studying the evidence they would be presenting. The evidence was damning. Communications between corporate leaders discussing how to provoke incidents that would escalate tensions. Financial records showing the same individuals investing heavily in weapons manufacturing before the war began. Technical specifications for weapons designed to prolong the conflict rather than end it. Definitively, records of test subjects used in weapons development, including the neural weapon that had been Cora's responsibility. On the morning of their departure, Lily sat beside Cora's bed in the medical bay. The Zoraxian was sitting up now, her color returned to the vibrant purple that was healthy for her species. Her silver eyes were clear and alert. "The doctor says I'm clear to travel." Cora said, "Are you ready for this?" "As ready as he'll ever be." Lily replied, "We're about to become the most wanted fugitives in 2 civilizations." Cora reached out, taking Lily's hand in one of her 4. "Do you remember when we used to talk about changing the world lying on our backs looking at the stars at camp?" Lily smiled. "I remember you said your people had a saying. What was it? The brightest stars are formed in the darkest clouds." Cora translated it means. Earth filled the viewscreen of their stealth ship, a beautiful blue-green orb, wrapped in wispy clouds and surrounded by the artificial constellations of orbital platforms, defense satellites, and space stations. Lily felt a strange mixture of emotions at seeing her homeworld again. After years stationed on distant outposts, the sight of Earth stirred memories of her childhood before the war, before everything changed. They approached from the dark side of the planet, using the shadow to further conceal their already stealthy vessel. The ship systems displayed a complex web of detection grids scanning patterns and patrol routes, all carefully mapped by resistance intelligence. Cora studied the defense grid, her silver eyes reflecting the display lights. "Even with our stealth technology, this will be difficult," she observed. "We have only one approach vector that gives us the highest probability of success." Lily nodded. "We need to time our descent perfectly to slip between the automated, scanning patterns of defense satellites Charlie and Echo." She pointed to a narrow corridor on the display that gives us a 4-minute window to reach the atmosphere. The plan was to land in a remote area of what had once been called the Pacific Northwest, a mountainous region with enough forest cover to conceal their landing. From there, resistance contacts would transport them to the Global Media Network headquarters in what had once been Seattle, now called Western Command Center 1. They waited silently as the ship computer counted down to their window of opportunity. Lily could feel her heart pounding in her chest. Everything they had been through, every risk they had taken, led to this moment. Entering approach window now, said the ship's AI. Lily engaged the descent thrusters, guiding them into the narrow corridor between scanning patterns. Cora monitored the stealth systems, making continuous adjustments to adapt to the changing detection methods. The ship trembled slightly as they accelerated toward Earth defense platform. "Alpha is rotating toward our position," Cora warned. "Their new scanning algorithm might detect our engine signature." Lily adjusted their course, pushing the ship to its limits. The vessel responded beautifully, a testament to the combined engineering skills of both species working together in secret. They hit the upper atmosphere with a jolt, the ship's hull heating as it pushed through the thickening air. Lily activated the cooling systems, keeping the temperature signature minimal to avoid detection. The clouds enveloped them, providing additional natural cover. "We made it through the primary defense grid," Lily said, allowing herself a moment of relief. "Not clear yet," Cora cautioned. "Atmospheric patrols are still a concern." They descended through cloud layers, emerging over a vast expanse of forest. The navigation system indicated they were approaching their landing coordinates. A small clearing in the dense woods, just large enough for their ship as they dropped. Below the cloud cover, a warning alarm blared. "Patrol craft detected," Cora called out. Two air defense fighters approaching from the east. Lily pushed the ship into a steep dive heading for the tree line. Earlier than planned, but they had no choice. The patrol craft had not detected them yet, but would soon be within visual range. They skimmed just above the treetops, following a river valley deeper into the mountains. The patrol craft passed overhead, continuing their regular route unaware of the stealth ship below them. Lily spotted the clearing and guided the ship down branches scraping against the hull as they descended. The landing was rougher than she'd hoped, the ship settling with a thud that shook them in their seats. "Shut down all systems," Lily ordered. Cora immediately began the process of powering down everything except essential life support. They needed to minimize any energy signature that might be detected. When the ship was dark and quiet, they gathered their equipment. The evidence was stored on 3 separate devices, each containing the full data package. A redundancy in case any were lost or destroyed. They wore simple civilian clothes provided by the Resistance, dark and functional with nothing to identify their true origins. They exited the ship into the cool mountain air. The scent of pine trees and earth was overwhelming after months in the sterile environments of space stations and ships. Lily took a deep breath, letting the familiar smells of her home planet fill her lungs. A bird call echoed through the trees, though Lily recognized it as artificial. Too precise, too measured. She responded with the countersign. Another bird call, slightly different in pattern. 2 figures emerged from the trees. A man and a woman dressed in hiking gear that would not attract attention in this wilderness area. Brooke stepped forward, extending her hand. "I didn't believe it when they told me you were coming." Lily stared in surprise, recognizing an old friend from officer training. They had served together briefly before being assigned to different postings. Brooke had disappeared 3 years ago, presumed killed in action. "You joined the Resistance," Lily said, as they embraced briefly. "After what I saw on Europa Station, I couldn't keep following orders," Brooke replied. She glanced at Cora with undisguised curiosity. "So it's true, a Zoraxian defector?" "This is Cora," Lily said, "Fleet Commander of the 7th Zoraxian Battle Group, and my friend." The man who had remained silent stepped forward. "We need to move. The patrols will be back in this area within 2 hours." They covered the ship with camouflage netting designed to hide both visual and energy signatures. Then, they set off through the forest. Following a narrow trail that wound deeper into the mountains, Brooke led the way, while the man who introduced himself only as Hector took the rear guard position. Cora moved with surprising grace through the unfamiliar terrain, her forearms occasionally useful for maintaining balance on the steeper sections. Her silver eyes seemed to catch every movement in the forest around them. "You seem comfortable in these woods," Lily remarked as they hiked. Cora gave a small smile. "The camouflage I wore as a child was not just physical but behavioral. I studied Earth environments extensively to blend in." She paused, then added more quietly, "Also, I enjoyed our hiking trips at camp. Remember the day we climbed to Eagle Point?" Lily smiled at the memory. 2 young girls struggling up a steep trail to reach a magnificent viewpoint where they had sat eating sandwiches and talking about the stars. After an hour of hiking, they reached what appeared to be an abandoned ranger station. A simple wooden structure that had weathered many seasons. Hector approached it, first checking for signs of surveillance or intrusion. "Clear," he said, opening the door. Inside, the station was transformed. High-tech communications equipment lined one wall while another held weapons and supplies. Brooke went immediately to a communications panel and entered a complex sequence of codes base. "This is Treeline," she said into a secured microphone. "Package delivered. Moving to Phase 2. She turned to Lily and Cora. "Transport will be here in 30 minutes, ground vehicle to the city, then underground to the broadcast center." She looked at her watch. "The broadcast is scheduled for 2000 hours. That gives us 4 hours to get you in position." Lily nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. Millions of lives on both sides of the conflict depended on their success. Entire worlds waited, unaware of the truth they carried. While they waited, Brooke briefed them on the security situation in the city. Former Seattle was heavily patrolled. Checkpoints controlled movement between sectors, and facial recognition systems monitored public spaces. "We have countermeasures for you," she explained, handing them each what looked like ordinary eyeglasses. These project a subtle interference, field around your face, just enough to confuse the recognition systems without being obvious to human observers. Hector, meanwhile, prepared their identification documents, expertly forged credentials that would get them through checkpoints. Lily was impressed by the level of detail and organization the Resistance had achieved, operating right under the noses of the authorities. The transport arrived exactly on schedule, a rugged, all-terrain vehicle designed for the mountain roads, driven by another Resistance member who introduced herself as Morgan. They set off down a rough track that eventually connected with a main road heading toward the distant city. As they traveled, Lily noticed how the landscape had changed since her childhood. Military installations dotted the countryside. Checkpoints controlled access to even small towns. Propaganda billboards promoted unity against the alien threat, some showing stylized images of Zoraxians portrayed as monstrous and inhuman. Cora observed these images without comment, but Lily could sense her discomfort. The alienness of her friend had long since faded in Lily's perception. She no longer saw the purple skin and 4 arms as strange, but simply as Cora. Yet the world around them had been shaped to fear such differences. They passed through 3 checkpoints each time, their forged credentials passing inspection without issue. The glasses worked perfectly, keeping their faces just blurry enough in the security systems to avoid recognition. The city, formerly Seattle now, Western Command Center 1, came into view as they crested a hill, its skyline dominated by the massive Central Command Tower, where the military leadership coordinated operations against the Zoraxian forces. Their destination was nearby, a nondescript building that housed the Global Media Network, the primary news outlet for Earth and its colonies. Controlled by the government but with enough technical independence to serve their purposes,